On today's show,
free agents can now be traded. Could Lance be dealt back to Indy?
In Crossfire, we argue what the Warriors should do with David Lee when he returns this week.
And in the Up-Down Report, we examine whether the Hawks are Eastern Conference contenders.
It's Tuesday, December 16th. The Starter starts now.
Good evening, Sweet World, and welcome to The Starters. Whether you're joining us live online, listening to the podcast, or catching us on NBA TV, we're very, very happy to have you. I'm J.E. Skeets, and alongside me, as always, it's Tass Mellis.
We're talking about Lance again.
To my right, the Starters blog editor, Trey Kirby.
Hey-o!
Hey-o! And finally, it's the international man of mystery. It's Lee Ellis.
Amigos.
Lele.
Lele. All right, we've got Crossfire. We got the Up-Down Report this evening, but it was December 15th yesterday, which means any NBA player signed in the offseason can now officially be dealt. A lot of the offseason moves, they're working out, but some not so well. And here are a few of them. Lance Stephenson, Marvin Williams, Isaiah Thomas, and Greg Monroe. Now, we'll run through a couple of these. With Monroe is interesting. It's going to be difficult to trade him because he could, first off, veto any deal. He probably wants to keep his bird rights. You also have Moose and Pistons coach Stan Van Gundy denying all rumors that they're even looking to move him. So we'll avoid Greg Monroe for the sake of argument here. But a guy we've talked about already tons this season, Lance Stephenson and the 6-8 Hornets. Could it be possible that they would look to move this guy already?
Well, first, we're not getting the best Lance. We know that. But the biggest question is why? I mean, he became who he is as sort of the fourth best option on the Indiana Pacers. It took him a long time to get that point. The Pacers brought him along slowly. I think they kind of looked at him as sort of the little brother. And the Hornets underestimated or wrongly estimated how much time it would take for him to be in the 2 or 3 role for his team. So if they want to deal him, if they don't want to wait, that contract is extremely tradable.
Yeah,
it's basically a 2-year contract because the third year is a team option. Any 2-year contract is tradable in this league. If they want to do it, they want to cut ties, they sure can. I don't think they'd get the same talent back, and I think they just have to wait it out, personally, in my opinion.
It is always a dilemma with something like that. It's like, do you give it time and let it try and figure itself out, see if they do gel, see if they come together, or do you just cut your losses and say, we were wrong.
It's not working.
It's not working. Chemistry issues, whatever. Let's move them. It's a tough decision.
Their record at 6-18 obviously means that they have to start making arrangements for, or else they're going to miss out on the playoffs this season. But if they have decided to cut bait, they need to somehow increase his value somewhat because they're bargaining from a position of weakness right now.
Yep.
And I wonder if Steve Clifford maybe should consider bringing him off the bench for a few games just to try something different with that team. Because remember last year with Indiana, he had a lot of success with those second units at the start of the second quarters. So maybe that's an idea that they could consider just to try to get him going again, because if he increases his value, then all of a sudden a few other teams might get interested, or it might just turn things around for the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah, but to me, I just think that it's fine to get rid of him now because that doesn't seem to be a very good fit there. When he's playing, the Hornets just can't score because there's just so much crowding everywhere. Him and Kemba both under 30% from 3 right now, and there's just every basket they try and get is hard. Al Jefferson has to work super hard in the post to do his little dinkers and dumpers. They can't score when you're trying to weave through so many guys right by the rim. It just is an awkward fit to me because there's 2 ball handlers that love having the ball. You can't play both of them. It's either him or Kemba, and I think they're going to go with Kemba.
What does everyone think about the rumors that the Indiana Pacers, they've talked to the owner, Herb Simon there with the Pacers. He says he's open to the idea of bringing Lance Stephenson even back to Indy. He says, I'm going to leave it in the hands of the guys that make those basketball decisions, Larry Bird and Kevin Pritchard, but what do you think of that concept? Sort of wild.
I think it would be a great fit. He worked very well there. It would totally make sense to me. I don't think the Charlotte Hornets should trade him, though, because his value is way too low.
Sure.
They're not going to get enough back for him. It just doesn't make sense. The bigger worry, other than Lance missing shots from in close and missing his 3-pointers, he hasn't lost his talent. This isn't Space Jam. He'll be fine in terms of his talent. The bigger worry is they're not playing defense. And that can't fall on Lance's shoulders. That falls on sort of the chemistry of this team. When is that going to come around? Because it's not his fault that this team has fallen off so much defensively. That was their MO last year, and they had a bad offense on the other end of the floor. That's sort of acceptable with them.
Yeah, but he comes from a defensive place in Indiana, and he hasn't helped on defense. They're obviously struggling this year, and a lot of it is because people can just score on them inside because Josh McRoberts was used to playing big man roles and being at the rim. Marvin Williams isn't that guy.
No, jumping into the second or third role has not worked for him. It just hasn't worked for him a quarter of this way into the season. But, we're going to talk about a few guys that their teams haven't worked a quarter into the season as well. So I think you can bide a little bit of time with
Well, yeah, they've fallen off offensively, amazingly. They were not great last season, and defensively, as Tass just said, it's where they were picking up all those wins. They were one of the best defenses in the league last year, now 22nd when you're looking at defensive rating. I'm with Trey, though. You know, they thought with Lance, with that signing, even Marvin Williams, who we can talk about with him as well, that they were getting some shooting, that they could get a couple guys in to give them a little scoring, so you had more room to operate with Al Jefferson down there. And both Lance and Marvin are just giving them nothing from the three-point range. Now, Marvin's not shooting a bad clip there. He doesn't take and shoot a whole lot of them. He sort of added that to his game in Utah sort of late in his career because he was never a three-point shooter with the Hawks. But both those guys, you know, Marvin, 2 years, $14 million. Could he be another guy that they would look to possibly move?
I don't see why not. Again, with that contract, it's a pretty movable contract. And he's still a young enough guy that he can offer something to some other team. But again, he just hasn't worked out. And the problem as well with Lance is if he's not involved in the offense, he sometimes goes wandering a little bit. And that's, I think, a part of the problem because, as you mentioned, with Al Jefferson, they wanted to create space so he could operate. He can't do that because teams just collapse on him straight away. And he can't kick it out to a guy who's going to knock down a three-pointer.
I hate getting into the sort of the mindset of guys. It's kind of dumb and ignorant. It's just kind of a waste of time. But at the same time, the Pacers just had this sort of structure where they had their sort of arms around Lance and kind of brought him up, you know, from
They were pretty angry with him at the end of last year.
Yeah, I know, but they made him who he was.
Sure.
It's sort of that structure, and that just doesn't happen in Charlotte, and I'm not sure when that's going to come around for him. When is he going to be a sort of a second or third piece?
Yeah, got into arguments with Evan Turner. Roy Hibbert apparently, thought he was
Stealing
maybe the ball
rebounds.
hog and stealing rebounds. Yeah, let's talk about Isaiah Thomas though, with the Phoenix Suns. It's interesting because, you know, it was a sign and trade with the Kings, 4-year, $27 million deal. He's put up very solid numbers in limited minutes. Yeah, he gets his numbers, but it's maybe disappointing because the Suns aren't playing as well as we thought they were, and maybe even the three-point guard experiment that we thought we would see here, at least rotation-wise, Hornacek has decided not really to run that out in sort of that regards.
They're playing some of that with three
of them. With the three of them out there all the time, very, very limited minutes this season.
Not all the time.
I think we thought more. We thought we were going to get more.
I think people are just expected too much from this team, and things aren't that bad. They were 12-8 after 20 games, which is on pace for what they did last year, and obviously they have to just adapt to all this new play, having those three guards out there, losing Channing Frye, the threat of Channing Frye on the floor. True. So at a 48-win pace, I mean, what more could you expect from this team?
Yep.
That's big. That would be an accomplishment, especially after last year when we all said, oh, everything went right for this team. And a lot of things have gone wrong for this team. You've just seen buzzer beater after buzzer beater against this team. So really, I think they're okay.
You think they're fine?
Their position is entirely fine.
Goran Dragic, you don't think has fallen off at all here?
Yeah, no. I watched this team a ton. I see Goran Dragic sort of off the ball, just watching plays. And we saw Goran Dragic. You see him on the bottom of your screen here. We saw him last year just explode into an All-NBA third-team player because the ball was in his hands all of the time.
Yep.
His numbers are down this year. His efficiency is fine. Like, he's actually putting up numbers for the amount of times that he's shooting. But I think when you get a player coming to another team, a good player, everybody's numbers are expected to drop, as we saw with the Miami Heat, for instance. But in this instance, Goran Dragic's usage rate, the amount he's shooting, should stay the same because he's the best player of all these three. That's why his numbers shouldn't drop off. Isaiah and Eric Bledsoe should take a backseat to this guy because he's an All-NBA third-team player. So they're all sort of adapting and trying to make this right. But I'm not sure how well it's going to go.
You're right about the Suns leading the league in devastating buzzer beater losses. Another one to the Bucks last night. But another free agent signing, just sort of more in the news regard here. Josh McRoberts. Signed with Miami Heat. You know, maybe a big reason why the Hornets are struggling this squad. He meant a lot to them last year.
Part of it.
But this free agent forward maybe out for the remainder of the season now in Miami after Tess yesterday revealed a torn right meniscus that will require surgery. It gets worse for Heat fans. Chris Bosh missed Sunday's game against Chicago. He's likely to miss Tuesday's game with a calf strain, so no Chris Bosh likely tonight. He's out indefinitely. He's been huge for them, averaging 21 and 8. And the Heat, with all of these injuries, I mean, these guys, they've had nine players with injuries already. Spoelstra has had to roll out 10 different starting lineups through the first 24 games. And you see the effect there. Still in a playoff race because it is the East, but 11 and 13, and it's only going to get worse. Not like McRoberts was filling up the box score, but,
But that's
an
more
important
of his
player.
role. That's not the type of player he is, and he wasn't like that for Charlotte either last year. Unfortunately for him, he is out, but I bet you if the Hornets could get him back, they would love to.
Let's hear what people think. Jump on Twitter, hashtag the starters, a couple of maybe of the disappointing offseason signings. Who do you see most likely to be moved? But we got to take a break. Coming up, can Kobe pass Kareem on the NBA's all-time scoring list? He's already got Jordan. Malone and Kareem are next. We'll debate that and more in Crossfire.
Welcome to Crossfire. This is how it works. Trey will give Skeets and I 3 topics. We will debate each one, and at the end of it all, Trey will declare an arbitrary winner. Trey, what is topic number 1?
First question. The Kings fired Mike Malone Sunday night, and while they've named Ty Jerome their interim head coach, who is the best long-term coaching option for the Kings?
I think it's Chris Mullin. He's in the
Really?
Kings front office. Vivek Ranadive wants to change things up. That's why he wants a first-year head coach. I'm going back to the Showtime Lakers. Pat Riley was instituted by the late, great Jerry Buss because he wanted Showtime. He wanted new things. He wanted exciting stuff. And that's what Vivek Ranadive wants. He just wants to change up.
Look
That's
how
why
exciting Chris Mullin is.
That's why they fired a traditional coach. Listen, man, I don't pick the footage that we choose here. That's why he fired a traditional coach in Mike Malone. He just wants a whole new thing. Chris Mullin is a malleable first-time coach. That's what he wants.
I'm surprised by that. I think the easy answer is George Karl, but I don't want an easy win here in Crossfire, which is why I'm saying I'll be the coach. Tass, you'll be the coach. Follow me here. Crowdsourcing coaching. Ranadive's done it with the draft when they made their pick. So why don't we have crowdsourcing coaching? We'll get an app on our phone. We'll decide, we'll punch it in, what plays we're calling, who we want to sub. We'll all be the coach.
You win.
Think outside the box. That's what he does.
Doesn't get much better than
There you
that.
go. Simple. Next question.
Second question. You may have heard that Kobe Bryant passed Michael Jordan for number 3 on the NBA's all-time scoring list. So here's the question. Will Kobe pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for first on the all-time scoring list?
Oh, man, this is impossible to look that far in the future, but if anyone can do it, it's honestly Kobe. I think so. And I'll get geeky here with some numbers, but it is possible. It really is if he stays healthy. Let's say he averages 25 points per game for the rest of the season. That's going to bring him to 33,760 points. Then he would need to play, those 3 seasons, average just a shade under 20?
How is he
He
gonna
could
do that?
easily.
I don't think he can do that.
He'd only be 39 still.
39. That would be unprecedented.
The 3
putting up
guys
those
ahead of
numbers.
him played 40.
Yeah, but those are unprecedented numbers. Are you watching what I'm watching right now? He can barely get up and down the floor.
He still scores 25.
He is scoring like crazy, but we're a quarter of the way through the season. He's making some really tough decisions. I mean, imagine halfway through the season, or 3/4 way through the season, or next year, or the year after that. I just can't imagine him functioning well. And also, the Lakers do plan to get good. So Kobe Bryant can't be shooting 38% and shooting 10 more shots than the next guy.
Well, you're gonna
If
tell
they
him that?
Well, if they plan on getting good, it's not going to work out. And as the years progress, he's not going to shoot better. It doesn't
He
make
could
sense.
score 20 for the next 3 seasons in his sleep.
I
Off
don't,
the
I
bench
don't
or
think he
not.
wants to. I really don't think he
I
wants to.
think he could do it. Go Kobe. I'm cheering you on.
Topic number 3, please.
Final question. Warriors GM Bob Myers said David Lee will be returning to the lineup this Thursday against the Thunder. The Warriors have the best record in the league, so what should they do with their all-star big man?
Oh, man, they got to bring him off the bench. They have to bring him off the bench. There's one thing that the Golden State Warriors have in mind this year, and that's going for the title. So why on earth would you trade David Lee, a very competent big man, for lesser talent? It makes no sense. To save money? No. You have to go for it in this situation. He's going to get to play offense and defense against second-string players. We know he's not a great defender. You put him up against second-string players, it works out. Andrew Bogut is out. This is the perfect time for him to come back because we know Bogey, as great as he is going to miss time like he has the last 6 seasons.
I understand that. Yeah, you're the Bogut factor in his health, but they're set. Their rotation is fine. It's obviously working. Spates has been great as a backup
How
center.
long can Spates
He's
do
been
this
absolutely
for, though?
fantastic. Their forwards, of course, there. So when they like to go small with Draymond Green, even Iggy there, Harrison Barnes, slot him into the 4. I think you could look at trading him because
For what?
if you don't trade David Lee or Iggy, you're going to be $10 million over next season.
Who
So you
cares
can
about next
avoid it.
season? You got to win a title this year. It's like
But
when
David
the
Lee
Thunder.
has had nothing to do with their record right now.
Yeah, but obviously he's a former All-Star. He's going to
Oh,
help.
former All-Star. Come on. I really don't. I don't
He's
see
not
what
gonna
he's
help.
going to bring. No, not really. Unless Bogut goes down, and that's what you're doing. You're playing the health card, and I understand that.
No, I'm not playing the health card. He's also going to supplement Spates. Spates can't be this great for the rest of the year.
How is he
it's
going
just
to
like the
help?
Thunder with Harden. You go for it.
He can't shoot the three. I don't know. I don't see how he helps the way they play.
All right, Trey, who won this?
Winner today is Skeets because I would love to coach the Sacramento Kings.
Ah, hey, man, we're all going to do it. We're all going to coach the Kings. It's going to be a blast. Can't wait.
Would be fun.
We start soon. All right, got to take a break. When we return, thumbs up or thumbs down on whether the Hawks are for real in the Eastern Conference. We'll be right back with the Up-Down Report. Welcome back to the starters, into the Up-Down Report, where we figure out where the four of us stand on some hot-button topics in the NBA. And we're going to start with the Atlanta Hawks. 17-7, third seed in the East, picked up a quality win over the Bulls last night. Are you up or down on the Hawks as legit Eastern Conference contenders? I'm a Hawks bro, and I'm down. You guys all up on the Hawks. You buy this.
Yeah, what's up, bro? Why aren't you down with it? I think they're part of the same sort of category as the Raps and the Wiz. They've got two guys who could be all-stars, and Teague and Millsap. They're good
Three. They got Korver. He's on fire.
Well, if Al Horford becomes Al Horford again, they could have four. Come on, Kyle Korver's
DeMarre
not making
Carroll,
the
maybe
All-Star
too.
team.
Who knows?
Easy.
They've got a
guys.
bench. They're good on both sides of the ball. They're really good on
Yeah.
both sides of the ball. I think you can put them in that same category. And as far as Al Horford goes, you haven't even got the best Al Horford. He's still not 100%, but I think we're seeing some great action from him. Last night,
Oh, yeah.
he started to look like himself, threw down a couple nasty ones. He looked very good, actually. I think this team is really well-rounded. I think they wouldn't be a favorite, obviously,
No.
but
I think
they're in the
East
category.
is super wide open this year. No team has really ran away with it, so why not the Hawks? They're the only team that's in the top 10 of both offense and defensive efficiency. That's a good team.
I have a problem right now putting them ahead of the four teams. That's why I don't have them as a contender, because I got four teams ahead of them still in the East. The Raps, the Wizards, the Cavs, and the Bulls. They
yeah.
beat the Bulls last night.
And
No
they beat the
Noah.
Wizards.
Their 9-game winning streak was against the worst teams in the league. We're going to find out if they're for real with their next games. Cavs, Rockets, Mavs, and Clippers. I mean, they go 3-1, 4-0, whatever. Then
you're
we'll
in?
do this
Then you're
again,
in?
and then I'm in as a Hawk pro. But I also don't want to jinx them. All right, next one here. I love this one. Kings owner Vivek Ranadive, has pitched the idea of his team playing, I'm not kidding, 4-on-5 defense. All right? You got to leave one player down on the offensive end, let them cherry pick.
Choosing to be shorthanded.
Tess and Trey, thumbs down. Lee and I, thumbs up. Lee,
How
love
can
it.
you possibly be down on this? This would be perfect to see in an actual NBA game.
It would get shredded.
They would get destroyed, but I would just love to see a guy just hanging out at the other end, ready for an easy basket, while his other team just concedes.
Can you
every time
imagine
they
the
score.
Kings players fighting over who would get to be the cherry picker? That would be
Yeah,
hilarious.
but like as soon as the news broke that Ty Corbin might be running some semblance of this 4-on-5, they were the joke of the NBA
exactly.
for an entire night. Imagine if they actually try it. Then your team is even more of a laughingstock than the Kings have been in the past.
They are trying some unorthodox offense down in their D-League system.
That's
so
where
it's-
this should
it's not-
happen.
well,
That's
yeah.
where you put the experiments. Give it to the Reno
No,
Bighorn.
I want to see it. I want to see it. on
It
this
is sort
network.
of
You
the
don't want to be the mockery of the league.
It's the equivalent of in hockey when someone says, "Why don't you just put a sumo wrestler in net?
That's a really good
Take
question.
up
though.
the
Why
entire
though?
net, you'll never score." It's the same idea. All right, let us know with all of these whether you're up or down. Next one, Steve Kerr's got some thoughts on hero ball. The Warriors head coach. He was asked about it, why teams sort of do it and go to their superstars for those last-second shots. He said, quote, "It's because people are idiots. That's why. The point of the game is to get an open shot, and if a guy's double-teamed, he should pass it. That's the game." We're all thumbs up on Steve Kerr's thoughts on hero ball. Not a surprise.
There should be a new category called clutch passing, because we always talk about clutch shooting, and LeBron is a very clutch
Right.
passer, but everyone criticizes him when he makes those bad passes, or not bad passes, makes passes to one of the guys who's open. This is exactly what Steve Kerr is talking about.
I think Steve Kerr would call those people idiots as
Yes,
well.
he would.
I mean,
And he
this
should.
is great. We got his first Greg Popovich moment right
True.
here.
That's true.
And it's funny that he has to tell us that, you should probably pass out of a double team.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty freaking
I
simple.
love that it is coming from Kerr, who knows a thing or two about getting a pass from a guy that was double-teamed in Michael
yeah.
Jordan and winning a game in the finals
Yeah.
because, hey, the superstar gave it up and he got a good look. Yeah, there it is. There's the double coming from Stockton. Kerr's wide open.
Yeah, that
Knocks it
worked.
down. Yeah.
Well, I mean, apparently Michael Jordan said he didn't want to take that last shot, so Stevie had to step up and hit it, so I can see where he's coming from for sure.
All right, final one here in the Up-Down report. In a recent interview with Rolling Stone, Swaggy P said he's trying to make Kazam 2 with him as the star, not Shaq. Quote, "We hope to push it to theaters, but it might be a straight to DVD." I like how honest Swaggy P is. I'm the only one thumbs down on this. You guys are I'm thumbs down because he
Doesn't have big enough muscles?
No, it's just, well, first off, Kazam once sucked.
That's
Fair
right.
point. That's fair point.
Let's, tell it as it
This
is.
can't get
Sequel's
worse than
always
that.
better.
And it's just not going to happen is why I'm thumbs down.
Fair enough. I
He
would
just jokes
chip
about
into the Kickstarter, though, because if there's anybody to replace Shaq in Kazam, it's Nick Young. He's got a rapper girlfriend, so he can rap. Plus, he looks great in Prince.
I
Yeah.
mean, the Rolling Stones called him and the NBA's newest big star. Every big star needs a bad movie.
That's exactly right.
Do it.
All right, let's hear what you guys think for all of those in the Up-Down report. But now let's unleash the unicorn. Let's get to the starters fantasy minute. A little different here. Some injury news with Blazers big man Robin Lopez. He's expected to miss 4 weeks with a fractured right hand. He cracked it on Boris Diaw's head. So you may want to look at picking up a guy like Chris Kaman. Again, this is a real fluke injury. He's going to be out again, probably 4 weeks. Taman, you think Lee could give you something fantasy basketball?
He's already been giving you 10 points and 6 rebounds, shooting 50% and getting a block shot in 20 minutes a game coming off the bench. I don't see any reason why he won't be playing closer to 30 minutes and probably starting for the Blazers. I expect Thomas Robinson and Joel Freeland also get a few extra minutes. But if Chris Kaman's available, go and grab him.
Taman with 30 minutes a game, yeah, you're going to get some numbers there.
Yeah.
Tough loss for a guy that's never injured there, Robin
Yeah.
Lopez.
Never missed a game before.
Has been an
For the
Ironman
Blazers.
with the Blazers. Yeah, tough loss. All right, got to take a break. When we return, pick'ems, solid plays, and a wedgie. Another wedgie.
Back to back.
Can you believe it? What a year. What a year. Come on back. You're watching the starters. Back with the starters. Pick and payoff results from last night. I went 4-1, Taz 2-3, so we're all tied up in the month of December, 32-17. We agree on 4 games tonight. The Nets, the Pellies, the Mavs, and the Thunder. The game we disagree on, the game of the night, easily. I'm taking the Dubs on the road. You like the Grizzlies in the Grindhouse. Best of luck to you, sir. Huge game for us.
Time to snap it. This streak was not snapped. Back-to-back nights with a wedgie. They're all snowflakes. This one was quite unique, I thought. Cody Zeller with the tip wedge. Doesn't happen very often. They're coming fast and furious, these wedgies.
Nice and wedged in there. Bergeau couldn't even get on the
Yeah,
first
you
tip.
couldn't even get it out. That's why we've had 0 days without a wedgie.
Gotta
We're on
love
fire.
it.
Back-to-back nights.
Lee,
Feels
I hate
great.
to do this to you, but the wedgie has bumped your very solid play of the night. But to check out which play was a very solid play of the night, jump over to the starters Facebook page. We'll post it there, Lee.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us, folks. And remember, babies have it right. Releasing toxins just feels sensational.
Breaks the night, people.
It does, doesn't it?
So good.